I'm going to tell you what stood out to me in both of these games.
All right.
Bam Adebayo's post game, man. Versus the Hawks, he broke out the spin move a couple of times. I won't go so far as to call it a dream shake, but there was definitely a little bit of a shimmy, like a dream, like maybe a daydream shimmy. It was like a baby dream shake. He like a little shimmy, then a spin, and he broke that out a couple of times against Atlanta. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I tweeted about it at the time. I'm like, I don't remember Bam kind of having a go-to spin move. And then the broadcast mentioned something about it, and I tweeted it, and a lot of people responded to me on Twitter saying same. So I know I'm not going crazy there. So that was kind of interesting. And then against the Grizzlies, I thought Bam's post work was really important in that game, and it was not in the same way, right? He wasn't getting to the basket as much. I think he only had 13 points in that game, but they were doubling him on the catch out of the post. Maybe after seeing some of that film against Atlanta, they were doubling him on the catch. But he just did. He did a good job making the right play over and over again. They initiated most of their offense out of the post through Bam, and he only had 13 points, but he had a team high in box minus. I thought he was maybe the most important player they had, other than Andrew Wiggins, who couldn't make a shot, who couldn't miss a shot against the Grizzlies. So I was really impressed with his post game over the weekend. Now I'm gonna pause here because I'm not going to do the thing where I say that this is some kind of turning point for Bam, because we've been here, we've been down that road before, been there, done that. We kind of see where it goes. There's ups and downs when it comes to Bam's offensive game. I'm just telling you what I saw in these two games. It's maybe the most advanced post game I've seen from Bam in his career.
That might be a little overstated, but I think the point's a valid one, because it seems like that's, again, I don't want to go so far as to say it's a reliable weapon or a go-to move or anything like that, but it was nice for him to be able to show a little bit of versatility in his offense. And look, we've talked about it all season long. He is trying to find his footing. He was kind of relegated to being mostly a three-point shooter, and we was really kind of out of the flow of the offense. But to be able to run the offense through him that way, I think shows a kind of evolution. And I'm wondering what the nature of that evolution was, because obviously with the All-Star break, then comes the return to Tyler Hero, and you wonder whether or not the time off gave Eric Spoelstra some time to develop a couple of wrinkles here where they could say, you know what, we want to be able to maximize this offense, and now we've got these additional scores and everybody's vying for competing playing time and everything else like that. So why not try to run the ball through Bam, see if he can initiate, create a little bit of offense that way, and make things a little bit easier for their shooters, so they're not having to create all these shots for themselves off the perimeter. So it seems like that's probably just a way of doing things that kind of just reflects the way that this team is healthy and back into the where they expected it to be, and to incorporate Bam in a much more useful way where he's able to not have to carry the load offensively in terms of production, but he can still be a part of the offense and get his touches and make things easier for other shooters.
I had the same exact thought. It felt like something that was installed during the break. And maybe install is too strong of a word, but maybe revisited, reimagined, revitalized. Because when you look at Miami's wheel offense, the one that they installed in preseason and have had all year long, that post game is part of it, right? Like we've seen them run stuff through Wiggins in that spot. And to be fair, we've seen Bam run stuff, but it did feel, to your point, David, lately it just felt like they were so perimeter oriented, where it just felt like pass the ball on the perimeter, drive if you can, and if not, kick out to an open shooter, which is fine. That's right. Good offense, right? Drive and kick is good offense, but it was the whole offense. So adding in another wrinkle of, okay, there is part of this offense where when somebody gets it in the post, the system says clear out and fill the other side, right? And you would think, all right, well, there should be some post-up opportunities more so than what we've had available to us. Without having Jimmy Butler, obviously, there's not a guy who's just going to naturally grab the ball and go down there because he wants to be there all the time. I don't think Bam necessarily wants to be there all the time, but also before the All-Star break, they were starting him with Kel'el Ware. Right. And so that those post options aren't there. Kel'el is not a post player, not even a little bit. He just doesn't have that in his game right now. Bam is. They have trained Bam to be more of a post player going back to 2023, where they said, hey, we need you to get in the post a little bit more. We need this for specifically our offense in the postseason. And so I think finding that again and helping Bam just not, I've talked about this before, it just felt like his offense in terms of numbers and production was always relying on whether or not the three ball was going in. And that's not the best way to use a center. Finding ways to systematically get him by the basket a little bit more. If you're not going to run pick and roll, this is the way to do it.
How much of it is also the byproduct of facing Atlanta and Memphis that doesn't have a strong interior
I
presence
think a lot.
defensively? Yeah. So I mean, I think that's a part of it too. But you know what? Look, we've heard Spo mention this before, and it's a valid point throughout the NBA. You want to try different things. You want to see kind of what works and against specific matchups and be able to go deeper into the bag. Miami's bag hasn't been particularly deep. Like we saw one version of their offense and that kind of sputtered, and now it's kind of just trying to figure out what you do, what you can do with whatever personnel is available to you. So I think it kind of reflects a level of awareness there, where you're saying, you know what, we're going up against a pretty bad Atlanta team and a Grizzlies team that's shorthanded. Obviously, they don't have Edie out there. They don't have a center presence. It's no Jaren Jackson Jr. anymore. Let's try something a little different. Let's go to what works here and try to get Bam into the offense. So I think it's a great evolution. But you know what? I really like the offense overall over the course of the weekend too. Just the fact that they were able to put up the kind of shots that they were. We talked about before the resumed play what we'd see from this team, whether or not it'd be a team that leans into the more defense, whether or not they'd incorporate some of the offense that we saw earlier in the season. And I think we saw a little bit of both, to be honest with you. So I think there's still more of a defensive-minded mentality, and again, something easier to do against a team that the Hawks and Grizzlies. But at the same time, putting up the number of shots they did, 100 field goal attempts on Friday against the Hawks, and then follow that up with 95 field goal attempts against the Grizzlies. So that's really potent. I mean, that's a team that's putting up a lot of shots, really pushing the pace. They already led the league in terms of total field goal attempts per game. That was exceeding even their 94 field goal attempt average. So they were really, really kind of just embracing that sort of offense and picking up exactly where we saw them at the start of the season, and then mixing in some great defensive possessions as well. So it was a really solid weekend for a team that's kind of been so inconsistent, as you pointed out, a team that hasn't won back to games in so long. I thought maybe even watching this on Saturday night that maybe Miami would find a way to blow this game because they just haven't found a way to win back-to-back games in so long. But credit to them, they were able to kind of pick up a lead and then just kind of build up from there, and led to some altercations later on in the game too. That